Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Rails member update. We'll get started. I think most people are here. So, good morning again. I'm Deirdre Brennan here in Burr Ridge, Rails. This is our member update for April. It's the 11th of April. And so I'm glad you're all joining us. We will start with introductions. And I think we'll just go alphabetically, because it's easy when you're a librarian to do that. So can we start? Is anybody in Bolingbrook? I can see the lights are on, but I don't think anybody's there. Okay, nobody's in Bolingbrook, but we have people in Burr Ridge. So, Dan, you want to start?
Sure. Dan Bostrom, Manager of Member Engagement.
Robin Wagner, South Holland Public Library.
Ryan Heppel, Rails IP.
Mary Witt, Rails.
Deirdre Brennan.
Jane Plass, Rails.
Ruth Ebbinghaus, Villa Park.
Candace Rutler, Villa Park Library.
Joe Philippek, Rails.
Veranda Pitchford, Rails.
How about Coal Valley? A lot of people there.
Hi, Laura
you're
Long
mute.
from East Moline. Oh, did you hear us?
Yep.
Okay.
Angela Campbell, Rock Island.
Leanne Bredberg, Andalusia.
Catherine Worsley, Aledo.
Jeff Stafford, Coal Valley.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. How about in East Peoria?
Good morning, Kendall Larson, Rails.
Terry Miller, Peoria Public.
Roberta Koszelski, Peoria.
Thank you. Is Rockford out there? Anybody there? No? Okay. All right. Now we'll go to our libraries. How about Aurora? Anyone in Aurora?
No.
No? I see it. Okay, so nobody's in Aurora, right? Okay. Oh, okay. Cherry Valley. That looks like you, Jane.
Yes, hi there, Jane Lenzer, Cherry Valley Public Library.
Great. Welcome. How about Freeport?
Hi, Penny Miller, Pearl City Public Library.
Penny Bryan, Pecatonica.
Ellen Finfrock, Polo.
Thank you. State Library.
Gwen Harrison.
Karen Egan.
Hello. How are you?
Fine, how are you?
Great. Good to be here.
Good. How about LaSalle?
Good morning, everyone. This is Christy Stapija from LaSalle Public Library.
Julie Whalen from Princeton Public Library.
Great. New Lenox.
Michelle Croswick, New Lenox.
Julie Millivek, Downers Grove.
Lisa Pappas, Plainfield.
Lauren Offerman, Three Rivers.
Kathy Berggren, Madison.
Thank you. Quincy? Anybody in Quincy? I would say no. Okay. And Sycamore.
Hi, Riley Roble from Hinckley.
And Emily Faulkner from DeKalb.
Great. Okay. Nice to see you. All right. So we got a lot of people streaming, as always. And Mary Witt is going to be monitoring this questions that come in from the streaming. So please don't hesitate to speak up, and please do speak up, because sometimes it is hard to hear on the Polycom. So okay, and if you have any technical difficulties, let us know. All right, so we're going to start with a general Rails update. I'll start off with money. So we're working on our FY19 budget right now, and our area and per capita grant application. It is due June 1st to the State Library. They have told us to assume level funding as they did last year, and so that is what we are doing. We will be discussing the budget and the plan of service at the board meeting this month, and then the board will be approving it next month in May, so we can arrive in a timely fashion at the State Library. So we'll be continuing a lot of our projects that we've been doing, and also working on, we'll be ramping up a lot more the Find More Illinois, the overlay, which you'll be hearing about more later on. And as we get more into the, more specific about the plan of service, you'll certainly be hearing more information about that. Let's see, we've been working on the Elevate Leadership Program, working with ILA and Heartland on that, and that is scheduled to happen at the end of April in Springfield. Also working with the State Library, and thank you very much, especially Karen, for all your work on getting it moved over to the State Library at the last minute. We're looking forward to that program. Directors University is firming up. Looks like we have about, 50 people registered, a little more than 50 directors registered, about half and half Heartland and Rails this year, and that will take place in June, also in Springfield at the State Library. Our board election will be commencing later this month. We have a nominating committee meeting next week. We have, I think, 3 open trustee seats and 2 open at-large seats. We have a number of candidates running, so looking forward to some new board members. And I also wanted to be sure that everybody knows that the Association of Rural and Small Libraries is meeting in Springfield this coming September, which will be a great opportunity for those of us, all of us, you who are from rural or small libraries, and obviously for Rails and Heartland and the State Library, it's a great opportunity to work with our members on that and to hear some of the issues that Illinois libraries share with rural and small libraries across the country. I did want to introduce again our new member engagement manager, Dan Bostrom. He started Monday and is very interested in the Polycom and how it all works. So you'll be hearing from him, no doubt, as he will be out on the road most of his time, and which is great. So you'll be seeing him. And let's see, I don't think I have anything else to say at this point before I move on to talking about strategic planning. Are there any questions at this point from anybody?
I have a question if no one else does.
Yep.
A little disappointed that individual libraries have not received their per capita grant monies, yet Rails received a third payment. What is the status of receiving funds?
Well, yes, I'm sorry that more libraries haven't received their per capita grants also. As it was explained to us at the board meeting in March, it's really totally, I guess I would say, up to the comptroller's office in what order they issue the payments. I don't know, Karen or Gwen, if you want to speak to that.
You are totally correct, Dee, in what you just said. It is out of our hands at this point and totally up to the comptroller to issue the checks as the funds are available.
Right, and I think, my impression is that it's not so much a lack of funds. Obviously it's dependent on tax revenue coming in, but I think it's also the timing issues are due to just the huge backlog of bills that exists. And
Dee, if I could interrupt, we did hear this week, or last week, I mix up my weeks, but many public libraries did receive a payment this or last week. We got emails on that, so that's a good sign as far as we're concerned.
Right. yes, that, yeah, we saw that too. We saw a lot of activity on the director's list about that. So I guess it's, I'm sorry that, yes, Robin.
I'd like to say I'm Robin from South Holland Public Library. Not only have I gotten last year's per capita grant, I have not gotten last year's Live and Learn grant. It's been in the queue at the comptroller's office since last June for $125,000. My project is wrapping up in the middle of May, and I haven't gotten a single dime from that money, which is about a third of the cost of my project. And I cannot understand why there's such a big holdup on something from June of last year. I don't know who can I go to find out why I can't be bumped up on the list.
I would suggest you call the comptroller's office. This is Gwen Harrison, State Library.
One of my colleagues who's waiting for her $125,000 has been calling the comptroller's office and getting bounced around, and there's nothing they can do.
Well, that's the best way that you can stir up the pot. That's the best way you can stir up.
Thank you.
I do know this is very frustrating. I've heard from libraries that did contact their legislator, who then asked them to contact the comptroller's office. I think that, what I was told by one of our legislators is that really it often only works in those cases when you're talking about meeting payroll. So I think, unfortunately, I'm not saying that your project isn't important, but when it's a question of keeping doors open, I think those kinds of things, those issues, those bills, whatever, take precedence. I hear you. I think we all
at
hear
this
you.
point, I'm wondering if I ever will get the money.
Well, yeah, and there's some capital grants. I don't know if they, some of the building projects that, I know that they felt that way too.
Yeah, this is Karen at the State Library. You will get the money. We just don't know when.
Right. It's the good news, I guess, in all of this.
Thank you.
Sure. Yes, another
I
question.
have a question for Dan. Will he be scheduling visits with member libraries?
That's a great question, and the answer is yes. As Deirdre mentioned, I've only been here 3 days, but we are starting to strategize member visits and networking, and I'm really looking forward to meeting everyone face-to-face very soon.
And I've asked, if anyone out there would like a visit, you can type in your name. We also have a form on our website. It's in the members section. It's request a visit. We haven't been publicizing it too much because Dan hasn't been here, but now that he's here, we'll put that in the e-news, and or you could email him. We'll make sure that you have plenty of opportunities. We certainly want to get him out to the libraries that want to visit, because it has been a little while while we've been waiting for him. So,
a lot of pent-up demand.
Yes. I'm going to give out your email here, Dan.
Please.
So anyone can email you.
Please.
Any other questions? Mary? No?
No, we just have one comment. I really like the last exchange about dealing with the state. That's what makes these updates valuable.
Oh, great. Okay. Sorry we can't provide, more positive, firm news, but at least it's information, right? Thank you for that. Any questions from anybody at any of the sites at this point? And I also want to thank Karen and Gwen for helping to answer those questions. Any questions from anybody else before we move on? Apparently not. Okay. So I thought I would just talk a little bit about our strategic planning process. Some of you have been participating in this. As you know, we did our strategic plan back in 2013 and 14. The board approved it in 2014. And we got a lot of great input at the time from members, and which drove us to establish certain goals and objectives, and we've been working on those ever since. Things like one of the main things that people wanted back then was training and about CE and consulting. Well, we have a pretty robust program of that going on, thanks to Joe and Louise. Digital e-resources. So we have e-read, thanks to a grant from the State Library and work by Veranda and her team and a bunch of other people. So just a couple of examples. So we're updating it now. We know things have changed. We know that a lot of our projects should continue, like e-read and training, but we want to know if there's any sort of finer points we should know about that, and also if there are any new needs. And so we have done 7 sessions around our service area and in person, and we have also done, 4, in person, and 3 via GoToMeeting. And the 3 versus via GoToMeeting were specifically for academic libraries, school libraries, and special libraries. So I just thought I'd give you a little update of what we've heard. We asked people the question, excuse me, what keeps you up at night? And that seems to have really focused the mind on the big picture. I think the most surprising, it's not exactly surprising, it's just different than what we heard the last time, is just everywhere we went, we heard about people's concern about keeping patrons and staff safe, which is certainly a sign of our times, unfortunately. We heard a lot about libraries worrying that they cannot deal with don't know how to deal with, don't have the staff to deal with the incredibly diverse array of social problems that people are bringing to the library. I think this is also a sign of the times, given that some of the agencies that used to help solve those problems, or at least assist people with solving them, are no longer because of state budget cutbacks or the economy, etc. So, people are coming to the library for even more reasons. Telling the library story, really being able to explain to funders and governing authorities, governing parent organizations why the library is important, and about these growing demands that are being placed on libraries, preparing libraries for the future and for being resilient. The unserved still comes up a lot, and when I was actually in Glenwood, Linwood for one of the sessions and Robin Wagner was there, we had a long conversation about that. And the unserved is, it's a really complex issue, because in your area it's complicated by the paper libraries kind of thing, or the contracting libraries that aren't actually real libraries. So it's really a big mess in technical terms. Let's see. Training, especially for new directors, leadership training, and training for trustees. This has come up a lot. Continuing need for group purchases, for saving, for Rails helping libraries to save money. Again, informing informing people about the library, advocacy types of activities. The state of the library ecosystem, and that we all really depend upon each other, but school libraries in particular are being cut. Librarians are being eliminated, and if kids don't learn in school how to use the library, then they go to the public library, or they go to the community college library or the college library, and they can't use the library and they can't do research, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of concern about school libraries from every type of library, including school libraries, of course. And a lot of call for more networking. It was interesting. There was an article in the Washington Post, I think it was this morning, about the importance of face-to-face meetings, and that we make more effective decisions, we make better connections at face-to-face meetings, and obviously we can't do that all the time, but at least we can, have exchanges, as was referenced earlier, that via our Polycom. And just a lot of requests for networking amongst, multi-type networking, that library ecosystem thing again, and also just, helping academic librarians network with other academic librarians, etc. So it's been very interesting. It's always informative when we go out and listen to the members. Always. So, as you'll be finding, Dan, no doubt. So, in terms of the next steps, we also have a needs assessment out right now. Mm-hmm. It would ask. It's designed for anybody in a library to respond to it, because we're hoping to get beyond the director trustee level, who mostly was at. We're at the sessions around the state. We will then take all of this and quickly and deftly organize it into brilliant categories and create goals and objectives. And we think that we'll be on time for the board to approve it in May or June as we go into our next fiscal year. Any questions about any of that? Anything that you've thought of since you were at a session that you want to add, or anything that keeps you up at night that you want to bring up now? Feel free.
I have a couple things on your end.
Okay, we'll go to the streaming people first.
One person asked, were the strategic plan webcasts recorded? I replied they were not. They were done by GoToMeeting, so we couldn't record them. I did provide the link for the needs assessment to the people who are on Rails Live. You can also find it in our e-news. It was in there last week. It'll be in today's issue, so please do fill out that needs assessment. We'd love to get feedback from everybody. We also have a comment. The latest Sparks podcast was particularly interesting and relevant for this current discussion on providing access to library clients who need help.
Mm-hmm. That was with Megan?
Mm-hmm. Yes, from Joliet Public Library, Denise Zelinsky.
Right. Yes, that's true. Because they've been doing a lot of work, just as a teaser for those of you who haven't yet listened to the podcast. They Joliet does not have the means to hire social workers. As some libraries are, fortunate they do have the funding to do that. And so they have done great work with community agencies that have managed to stay afloat in Joliet and really are making quite a difference there. So it's a great story.
And someone just asked where they can find the needs assessment. I reposted the link here. It's a SurveyMonkey survey. And you can also find it in our e-newsletter. I hope you all subscribe to our weekly e-newsletter that comes out on Wednesdays. The survey would have been in there last week. It's in there today. But I also just sent the link again to you, Rails Livers.
Great. Any questions? Any thoughts from anybody? Anywhere? Okay. Then we will move on, but feel free if you think of something later. And please fill out the needs assessment. That would be very helpful. All right, so standards. and we haven't talked about this for a while. Well, we haven't talked at the member update about it for a while. But we've talked a lot about it here at Rails. So just an update. There has been a lot going on behind the scenes. Some of you have participated in our beta testing, which was about 54 libraries, I think, something like that. Included libraries of all types and libraries in Heartland as well. And we really, really appreciate everybody's participation because it was very, very helpful to us. And I know everyone's very busy. In addition to filling out a form, we also asked some supplementary questions in the beta test, mostly focused on collection expenditures, because that is one of the standards. The core standard for collection expenditures currently calls for spending 8% of your operating budget on resources. And so there was some concern about libraries, how many libraries would not be able to meet that. And so what we have posed in Rails, or proposed here in Rails, is that in addition to the actual collection that is bought or licensed in some way, we have added a few other items that we think are very important in providing access to resources, specifically money that libraries spend on belonging to a consortium, shared catalog, an ILL utility, money that libraries spend on OCLC, because that obviously provides access to resources, electronic resources that aren't, the participation in e-book consortia, for example, that may not be covered in IPLAR. And that when we calculated those results from our beta testers, there was only one library out of all of them that did not meet the 8%. And it was not a tiny, rural, small library in Heartland either, if any of you might be thinking going to that obvious conclusion. So we think that's going to solve that issue, actually. The latest version of the standards, we're working on that now. We did make some changes based on the feedback. We cleaned up a lot of the language. We realized that some of them just didn't apply to enough libraries. We made a variety of revisions. And we are going to be presenting that at the board meeting this month for discussion. And then hopefully the board will be approving a revised set in May. So our tentative plan at this point for implementation, and really tentative because we haven't talked to the board about this yet in any kind of depth, is that we will do data collection starting at some point, probably in the fall, not to be confused with certification. But it will be data collection only in year one, so that we can really get complete, accurate information about where libraries stand with the standards. And it will only be for the core standards. So it really is going to be, and it will be via a web form. So it will be so easy and so quick that I think that it will be a non-issue. That is my hope. So we have a meeting planned at the end of April with the folks at the State Library to go over the standards in depth. So we'll be looking forward to that. And I do know that although maybe nobody feels this way, I don't know anymore. But in the past, there's been a lot of I'll say irritation, some negative feedback about having standards. And I just want to say again that These are designed to be helpful. These are not designed to be onerous. I think that having a standard that you have a written budget, annual budget, should not be an onerous standard. If you don't have a written budget, then you should have. I think a standard that your library applies or your facility complies with as many of the building codes, et cetera, that you can comply with given all of the constraints of your building. I think you should be doing that, and if it's onerous, it shouldn't be. I think, requiring training for new directors, obviously, that's something we've been hearing from our members. And, again, we are not staking out any new territory here. I mean, all of our neighboring states have much more onerous, I wouldn't even say onerous, have much more, broad, detailed standards that call for annual continuing education for staff, especially directors, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm hoping that when you see the final version, you'll see that this is really not going to exclude people unless they really don't. And there are some libraries, and hopefully the system can assist them in having a written budget or having written policies on things they should have policies on for their own safety. So, and it's also designed to be a pathway to excellence. So certainly libraries that want to move on to, fill out do the data collection for accomplished and exemplary, will make that available. We're just not going to require it. So hopefully, in a couple of years, everybody will be just happy about having standards. Statewide standards, hopefully, at some point. So any questions about that? Yes. I'm sure you have
standards
several.
Questions and then another separate question.
Okay.
The first question is there a current standards draft we can see before it goes to the board in May?
Oh, yes. It'll go to the board in April, actually. So you will see it in a week or so. It's not done yet. So as soon as it's done, we'll post it on the website, and you can see it.
And then the other standards, just a comment that I'll pass along, not a question. The standards were directed more to public libraries and to special libraries that are not broadly open to the public.
That's true. And that's something we have struggled with and worked with special libraries because they're the sort of inherent complexity there is that a special library, each library is special. They're all just grouped together. There's so many variations, and some of them, medical libraries, I think, have a lot of rules, or I don't mean rules exactly, standards, whereas a library in a small museum or historical society somewhere may not. So.
And then the third question is, when will we hear about our application to Directors University?
Let's get down to the really important thing. Yeah. Absolutely, yes. Good question.
Well, I know
I don't know the answer to that.
There is a committee meeting this afternoon,
right.
And I believe the intention is in the next couple of weeks. That's about. I don't know if there was an exact date put on it, but certainly during April. Next week or two, I would suspect.
Okay, so hopefully, probably this month.
Yeah, definitely this.
What other questions or comments out there? Now, these streamers are dominating the conversation. You must have something to say. I do want to again thank the many people who worked on the standards development. It's been a long process. If Kathy Parker is out there, I know what she's banging her head on the table. But we're getting there, Kathy. Let's see, where are we here on the agenda? Yeah. So, okay, well, I hope you don't mind me sort of haranguing a little bit about all of that, but I feel very strongly about it. For everybody's good. Okay, Jane, you're going to talk to us about exciting Find More Illinois. Thank you.
And it is exciting with Find More Illinois, which, as a reminder, is the name for our what we've been calling the Overlay Project for the last 5 years, which is a project to link multiple catalogs to make it easier for staff and patrons to search and to place interlibrary loans. So since our last member update, the board did approve moving forward with our pilot project. We signed the contract with Autographics for its Share It software at the very end of January and began implementation immediately. So at this point, all the basic setup is done. There's still some fine tuning, of course. We completed training for participating library staff and for the Rail system administrators last week. This week is their practice period, just to play with the system, to place interlibrary loan requests, not for real, but beginning Monday morning, staff can begin placing interlibrary loan requests to other libraries in the pilot project. And we have asked them to plan to roll it out to their patrons sometime in May, giving them a month to accommodate the library needs to do their rollout on their own schedule. Also in May, we will introduce a new Find More Illinois website, which will contain general information about the project, also a link to the search page. So watch for more information on that in e-news when we release that. Anybody will be able to search the catalog, but only libraries and patrons of the participating libraries will be able to place interlibrary loan requests during that period. We have also formed a Find More working group to help guide the project through this pilot phase and into expansion. We have representatives from the 3 participating consortia. It's Carolyn Coulter from Prairie Cat, Chris Hammerstrand from iShare, Jenny Slaney from Rock River. And then we also ask for representatives from 2 standalone libraries, because eventually this project will expand to include both consortial members and standalone libraries. And so Eric Battaglia from Aurora and Brooke Sievers from Addison Public Library have agreed to serve on that. So that group is meeting for the first time on April 23rd. I know the big question in everybody's mind is how much is this going to cost my library? We are still working on a membership fee structure for the annual fees, but we will scale it to make it as affordable as possible for libraries of all sizes and types to participate. So we'll be working on that in the next few months, get the working groups input on that as well. We do anticipate opening up the project to other libraries that want to participate in the fall. So watch for more information this summer and fall. Questions?
I would just like to, while you're all thinking about your questions, to just amplify a bit what Jane said. I think that this project has, Find More has the potential to really alter the resource sharing landscape in Illinois in a really positive way, because it is going to, it has the potential to provide not just really easy sharing between existing online consortia and libraries, individual libraries, but it is in other implementations a source for bibliographic records. It is a way for libraries to get their catalog online if they cannot afford to do it in another way and participate in resource sharing. So, I mean, these are all down the road, but these are very real components of the software. And so as we think about our libraries and their various needs, it really has the potential to solve a lot of them.
Yes, and it's very flexible software, and it's software that's been in use in large-scale implementations in a number of other states, including our neighbors, Wisconsin and Indiana.
Right.
I have a question for you, Jane. Where can we find the link to this catalog for viewing?
We will announce that in May.
So it's coming.
It's coming. We're still in the practice phase, so.
I have a question.
Great.
This is Laura from East Moline. You had mentioned, Jane, that you were going to develop an individual fee structure for a per library. Is this going to be an individual library opt-in, or if you are a member of a consortia, is it going to be all or nothing?
It will be an individual library opt-in. Not every member of a consortium needs to participate.
Oh,
and we have a number of Prairie Cat libraries in the pilot. Prairie Cat is one of the pilot participants. Now, the way search results for most consortia, with iShare being an exception because of the way they're set up, it returns search results from all of the libraries because it relies on Z39.50, but we do have that indicated as to which libraries are not currently participating.
Great, thanks.
So I think I'm going to go around the sites at this point just to see if anybody has anything they want to say about anything we've done so far before we turn over to Joe and a presentation we're going to do. So there's nobody in Bolingbrook, as I recall. We've got Burr Ridge covered. What about, and Laura just asked a question from Coal Valley. Anybody else in Coal Valley have a question?
Nobody but me, I guess. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. How about in East Peoria?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. How about Cherry Valley? Jane? Wherever you are. Lost her. I've lost her. Okay. How about Freeport? All right, I'll assume no. Anything from the State Library, Gwen or Karen?
Not at this time.
Thank you. LaSalle? Anything?
We're good here, thanks. We're good here, thanks.
Thank you. New Lenox?
Hi, we're just wondering about the Museum Pass program.
Ah, yes, I'm glad you asked. We're working on that. Do you want to talk about it, Veranda?
Yeah, sure.
It's coming.
Who asked? I'm sorry, I had my head turned.
Lisa Pappas.
Lennox.
Lisa from Plainfield.
New Lennox? Oh, hey.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we are working on it now. We're in the process of trying to engage the museums and test authentication against the system because this is a completely online system. It's taking us a little longer to get buy-in. We've had several meetings, and I can tell you who we've had meetings with, but we don't have them. They're halfway there, and we're following up with them, but we don't have any major museums booked. We have the Toby Jug Museum in Evanston. They were right in. Oh, and Lauren is like, yes.
We have a few others.
Oh, yes, we do, but they're, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I love them. I thank them.
Yeah.
But so it's taking us a little longer to get the larger museums, but we're testing authentication against the system now, and I'm happy to talk to you one-on-one about it. Does that answer your question?
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, call me again. You can call me if you, or have someone on your team call me if you want to talk more one-on-one about it. We're especially interested in feedback from libraries about workflow, etc. So,
I think this is the kind of project that has like a long tail.
yeah, very much so.
You know, since we're not compensating financially any of the museums,
Yeah.
sometimes we have to do a little more work convincing them what a wonderful thing this is for them to participate.
Yeah, it's a lot of in-person
But
hand-holding.
it's going to be great, and you know, I'm hoping that, you know, summer. I mean,
Yes,
I think what we've decided is that we have to have a small but critical number of museums and attractions that we can offer, and then, you know, something that makes sense.
Yep.
So, but thank you for asking
This
that,
is
Lisa.
this is Penny in Freeport. We have a question
Yes.
here about the museum pass. Have you looked and contacted any museums in the Rockford area or the Quad Cities areas, or are you just looking for museums in around the suburbs of Chicago?
No, we're not just looking at museums in the suburbs, and we've have made some initial contact with museums in the. We've done especially some outreach in Peoria to start, and we've done some initial work in Quad Cities. I think we've done. I'm geographically challenged.
You want a map, Veranda?
Yes.
You want a map?
No, I don't want a map. So, if there are particular, I would love to talk to you if there are particular museums to which you're referring, and I can share with you what we've done. We're following up area by area because we want to be sure to have a robust offering around the state. And to be honest with you, I did our friends youth services managers that meet at Des Plaines. I met with them, and they're looking for offerings around the state too, not just in the Chicago area. So, yes, we're looking around the area. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience with my geographic challenges. I'm like,
What did I get to? I got to New Lenox. Okay, Sycamore. Any questions in Sycamore?
Oh.
No questions here.
Okay.
Are we done with the going around?
Yes,
I have another
yes.
question about Find More. Sometimes there's a delay with the streaming. So this is another question about Find More. Will other library patrons be able to place holds on any one library's collection?
No, only patrons.
Just got another. I got it.
And we need to keep terminology straight too, because this is not an ILS, this is an interlibrary loan software. So only patrons of participating libraries will be able to place interlibrary loan requests. But anybody will be able to search.
And then just to let you know, Jane Lenzer is now via streaming.
Okay.
So
Okay.
she hasn't
Oh,
disappeared.
darn. Okay. All right. Very good. So now I'm going to turn it over to Joe Philippek for quite a while.
Thank you. So about 4 years ago is when we began offering our continuing education networking group grants. And in those 4 years, we've awarded about 40 grants, I believe something like over $75,000 to support continuing education events that have been organized and executed by the really vast number of networking groups throughout our service area. I think that these grants were initially offered and continue to be offered really for two big reasons. I think to support our networking groups because they have played a really important role for our members for a long time. They have and continue to, and this goes for both the very structured, organized networking groups like Laconia, Atlas, Kayla, but then also the networking group of directors that meet once a month for coffee, and that both really serve a, I think, significant purpose for people. So wanting to support those groups that do also offer both a networking opportunity for their members, but also do a lot of training for members. But of course also a desire and understanding that you really can't have enough training. And so to supplement what we offer at the system level, to offer these grants to networking groups to organize and offer CE opportunities for members in their kind of general geographic region. But we also understand that not everyone has a networking group. And as members reach out to myself, to Louise with particular training needs, and sometimes we can kind of talk to them about these networking group grants, it doesn't always work for them. So as we announced in eNews about a month or two ago, and I just kind of want to reiterate that we have expanded these grants beyond just networking groups now. So we kind of refer to them as continuing education event grants. And what this means is that if you are both as an individual library or a group of libraries, maybe not necessarily a networking group, but if you see a particular training need and have the desire to, you see a particular topic that you are interested in having a speaker come and address to staff in that area, this grant would be something that you could, that you would qualify and be able to apply for. This is in no way, I should stress, that we're not, we are expanding this grant to be for both networking groups and, again, individual or group of libraries that are looking to kind of offer this training. So we certainly want to continue to support networking groups and continue to get grants from them, applications from them, but we also see that this, the timing is kind of right to do this. So we have one more grant period this fiscal year. That deadline is May 31st, but it's certainly our intention to continue to offer these grants going into our next fiscal year beginning July 1. So that is really all I have to say about the networking group grants, but I'll pause and ask if anybody here or streaming or at our sites specifically about these CE grants. And I can slowly move into my next topic, but happy to go back to the CE grants as people might have questions about this. Mary, any streaming questions?
Not yet.
Nobody's interested.
Okay. So the other grant opportunity I want to talk about a little bit is, with some help of course, is the Rails Multi-Type Collaborative Grants. As a reminder, this is a grant that allows for 2 or more libraries of different types to collaborate on a particular project. So a public library and a school library, an academic and a special library, et cetera, et cetera. So again, purpose of these grants, in addition to supporting what we hope would be a really impactful project or service for these communities, a way to encourage libraries that are in relative close proximity to collaborate with one another and to discover the benefits of doing so, and hopefully kind of begin or plant the seed for what will be a, hopefully again, a long and sort of fruitful relationship and partnership. So since we started this grant program about a year ago, a little more than a year ago, we've awarded 12 grants to fund projects throughout our service area. Most of them receiving the maximum award of $2,500. We do have one more grant period in this fiscal year, which is due April 20th. It is our intention to offer these grants again, but I know as we've expanded the CE grant program, we're also looking at what we might be able to do with these multi-type grants. And I know as Dee has gone on her listening tours and heard from libraries, there's also a lot of interest in collaborating with, and certainly it's happening now, libraries collaborating with not only other libraries, but perhaps community organizations. And certainly there are organizations that might be well suited to and be really a key partner in supporting a particular need or service that you want to offer. You know, we talk about social services, supporting the immigrant population and services for immigrant populations. There may be partners in your community that could really play a key role in that. So we will be having conversations about how we might be able to adapt or expand this program to facilitate, and maybe if just a bit of seed money is needed to get that relationship going, that these grants could fill that role perhaps. So more to come on that. But with these 12 grants that we have awarded, we do like to share what these projects have been with our members. So to that end, today we have a couple libraries represented, a couple projects represented that we want to have them talk to you all a little bit about the project. So I think for starters, we'll start here in Burr Ridge. We have a couple of staff here from Villa Park that's going to talk about the collaboration and a literacy project between the public library and the school library. So I'll turn it over to Candace and Ruth to talk about that.
Thank you, and thanks again for the grant dollars. We have been working over the last few years with our local school district in Villa Park, School District 45, in establishing more of a relationship and communication with teachers and services that the library can offer. And we have really kind of focused on what we can do for them. So we found out about the grant and had a conversation with one of the staff members who kind of approached us, just telling us how excited she was about a program she attended. She's a District 45 staff member, and told us about this program, which was the Latino Family Literacy Project, and had some more conversations, talked with the school district, talked with the LRC at North School, and came up with this pilot project. And basically what it was co-sponsored by the library and School District 45, and the Latino Family Literacy Project is an established literacy program. They give you the materials, they give you books that go along with the program. The books are printed bilingual, English and Spanish, and the books really kind of focus on the Hispanic traditions and heritage, and then kind of interwoven stories. And what would happen with this particular project is we met over a course of 10 weeks, and parents had homework assignments. They'd get a copy of the book to take home. They had a scrapbook that they'd work on each week during the class. And so while the parents were in the classroom session, Ruth was working with the kids in the LRC on programming. So I'll let you talk a little bit about some of the activities that you did.
We had the help of a bilingual staff member from the library to help because I was not, but we looked at what the parents were going to be studying and had activities for the children. We tried to utilize the makerspace that was getting developed at the school, which the children loved, having additional time to be able to dig into some of the resources there and to bring in other activities. We brought in examples of both English and Spanish books from both the public library and pulled things from the LRC's collection so that the children we were working with were all from that particular school. So we were trying to reinforce what was available at the school as well as what we could do. And we did find over the course of time that the children did share the activities with their parents because they coordinated with the activities, the parents' homework and what they were doing. So for us, it was a very positive experience, and we've seen the children since then coming back to the library or at school events when the Villa Park Library has been back at North School.
And then I'd say on average each week we had about 15 parents, mainly moms that would come. There were some grandmas that would come. We didn't have any fathers in this particular pilot program that attended, but they did work as a family when they were back home with their each weekly activities. And then what we really wanted to do as well, so we met at North School in the LRC, and parents were in a classroom. But we also wanted to bring in the Villa Park Library. So what we did as part of our grant was hired a school bus. So the school bus met the families at North School. Ruth rode with the families, and some of the staff from the school were along with. So pretty short bus ride to the library. But a lot of kids haven't been on a bus.
They
so
were
it's
so
really,
excited.
really experience for them. So the bus brought them to the library where we had in our program room a big finale. So we had it decorated. We had fruit and pizza and water, and what was really kind of neat, and throughout each week we provided some snacks, but then parents started bringing their own. They would make things and bring them in for the group. So there was a mom who made this beautiful Jell-O mold for the celebration that was in their colors, and it was decorated beautifully. And so part of that program, the finale, was we offered certificates of completion for each of the families. And then they highlighted the scrapbooks that they made over the course of 10 weeks and shared those with everyone. We had the principal from North School, we had the teachers, we had some administrative staff at the library. And then after the celebration and recognition, we gave them a tour of the library and what we offer, what we can offer, and walked around with one of the staff members that was bilingual, so they could answer, ask questions and get answers while they were there. And so many were so excited and had no idea about the resources. Some of the parents, it was their first visit to the library. And one of the nice things is the collaboration between the school district, North School, LRC, library staff, and we're hoping to continue the project. We've been in discussion about the second session. There's an elementary level 1 and 2, and we've gotten letters from parents via email, and the best part for me is seeing some of the families in the library now on a regular basis. So I feel like that really kind of opens some doors for them. So it's kind of a brief overview of our project.
That's
Wonderful.
excellent.
Really wonderful.
Before we go to our next group, I'll just pause and see if anybody has any questions for folks here from Villa Park about their project specifically. And
what's the name of the program again?
The Latino Family Literacy Project.
Okay.
Oh,
great.
I was
wondering about that.
It's
Okay.
nice. I do have to preface it that we did have to have a teacher that was certified to actually teach the program.
Okay.
But we did have training. Training was included. We had copies of books. So a set of the books were given to the LRC at North School to add to their collection, and we'll get statistics on those. And then a collection was also given to the teacher who helped with the adult portion of the program. But it included online training. There are some sessions in the Chicago area you can attend in person.
Oh, okay.
That's great.
Yeah, it was great.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
We do have one other project that we wanted to share, another, I guess, literacy project, but with a little different angle to it. So I'm going to bounce it over to East Peoria, where we have staff there from Peoria who will tell you about their Barbers Love Books project.
Hi, my name is Chris Kokerschlenk. I am the librarian at a public school in Peoria, Illinois. And a couple of representatives that are here today from Peoria Public Library and I are collaborating on a project titled Barbers Love Books that came about kind of in an unusual way. I stumbled just doing a little research online on a couple of other cities that have similar type programs, and was just kind of formulating a plan in my mind when my husband actually was helping Terry and Roberta in another school building, and he mentioned something to them about my wanting to do something like this, and that is how we came together. Thank goodness, because yeah, it was much more of a project than I anticipated. So what we do is we started out with about, and this would have been in January or maybe a little before, January of 2017. The mission was to engage students in reading in other areas outside of school and home, and encourage other adults that they might look up to or that they associate with on a fairly regular basis, to encourage them to read rather than play a video game on the phone or the iPad, or man, do we have a lot of competition with that. But yeah, I mean, I have that at school as well. It's constant. But that was the mission, to provide books in local barbershops, and we started out with shops that the students at Hines School, which is the primary building that I'm at, which is a K through 4 building, but our purpose was to provide reading material for students in K through 8, to provide crates, for lack of any other term, of books visible in barbershops that our children, our particular population at Hines, would frequent, so that, and the crates are labeled with Barbers Love Books and so on. They're eye-catching, and so that students could read while they're waiting for a haircut. In the hopes that maybe if they did so, maybe read out loud to their barber or to a parent that they were with, in the hopes that possibly that particular haircut would be discounted by $1 or $2. I'm not entirely sure that's happening, but we don't care. We just know that there are books there and the kids have been using them. And so we started out with 6 shops. 2 of the shop owners were parents in my building, and we used books that were withdrawn from Peoria Public Library, that were maybe not used very frequently, or it was just time to turn over inventory, and also from donations that I get at the library at school. And we put together these crates and loaded them in the back of the car, and off we went. Of course, this was all prefaced by a letter that explained what our purpose was and other contacts, so that they knew we were coming. And you know, it was good. It was easy. Everybody seemed to be happy to see us. Our goal was to change out books every 4 to 6 weeks. I think we pretty much have kept to that. The challenges have been that I think we've had 2 shops that have closed, and the other challenge is just finding a time where we can, be together to do this, because it's better and more fun to do it with 2 people. So between the 3 of us, trying to find time is good, and it's been very well received. Every time we go into a shop to swap out books, we can tell that they've been used. We get a little feedback from each barber to find out, if they've been used and if they've noticed any trends or have any needs. We just kind of rotate our crates, and the one that comes back gets replenished. So needless to say, we were excited to get this grant, because we have expanded to 12.
Yes.
I think 12 shops at this point. So we needed inventory, and we appreciate that. It's been a fun project. Hopefully it will continue for a good long time. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Terry and Roberta from Peoria Public Library.
Good morning. I'm Terry Miller, Manager of Outreach Services at Peoria Public. Once this project started, and the pilot project was originally done and started in February of 17, we had great media coverage by our local newspaper. Then in one of the newsletters, I saw that the collaborative grant was going to be made available. So of course, I call Roberta, who's my immediate supervisor, and says, we need to do this. And then we called Chris, and she said, yes, we need to do this too. One of the reasons we wanted to expand the program. We were going to expand to 12. However, at the last minute, one of the shops decided that they didn't want us. But the ones that we added, how we got them was the first round, we sent letters. The second round, I just got in my car and drove around to the barber shops, or if I was out driving around, I just would stop and get some funny reactions when you just pop into a barber shop and urban barber shop, and you're a middle-aged Caucasian woman, you know, so they're looking like, do you need directions somewhere? So that was interesting, but I was only turned down by one or two, so I thought that was very good. And the barbers just love it. When we go to change the books, they're always telling us stories. In fact, at one point, the program was going over so well that he started having parents who were bringing in books to put in the crates on the shelves, as well as our books. One barber, and I think Roberta's going to allude to this a little more, instead of giving him $1 discount, the barber paid the child $1 for reading, because that way he got the reward for reading and not the parent. So that was a nice twist. One of the barbers told us it was a win-win situation for him, because he didn't have to have books to purchase, and we were able to provide the books to keep the children busy while in the shop. We purchased the books through, most of them came from Scholastic, and our selector, the wonderful woman she is, the more I bought, the more she got discounts and more I could get free. So each crate has 25 books in it, and we try to do it every 4 to 6 weeks. And I think at this, one of the other things I was going to say, besides the sign that goes on the crate, each book we purchased has a book plate in the front on what the program is, the wording for the grant, and everything, so they all know where these books came from. And I think I'll turn it over to Roberta for anything we might have missed.
Hi, I'm Roberta Koszalski, Deputy Director of Peoria Public Library. And when Terry and Chris were interested in applying for this grant, they had already spoken to the barbers, the participating barbers, the 6 originals, to find out that what kind of books the kids are asking for, or the parents are asking for, to read to the kids while they're there. And some popular topics were sports, a more diverse collection, more with African American characters or topics, and then chapter books. So Terry selected the books for the most part and got a nice diversity for $2,000 from Scholastic. A couple more anecdotes, and one barbershop said, at least one barbershop says, the kids come in with their families and they go to the crates first. And as Terry mentioned, a number of the barbers and parents supplement the books that are there. So as Terry and Chris go through to exchange, they go through the crate and take any that aren't labeled as part of this program out, so that we're not taking any of the books that the barbers or the parents provided. At a lot of barbershops, the barbers reported that the kids take the books home and then return them on their next visit, which is terrific. And then one barber, whose wife is a PhD in education, talks to the kids about the importance of reading, and he had a young man reading to him one day from one of the books, and he realized that the child was reading the pictures, and he found out that the child really didn't know how to read very much. So when the mom came in to pick him up, He talked to her about the importance of reading, told her that she needs to get on her child. He also figured out that the child is really good at math, but he just needs to beef up his reading skills. So he's a real good advocate for reading, as many of these barbers are. So as I was able to accompany Terry and an intern who's getting his master's degree this May on the March changeover. And every barber shop kind of treats the program differently in terms of discounts or providing a little stipend to the kids who read. But they were all very thankful for the program and that we included them. As Chris mentioned, the challenges were a couple of barber shops that have closed. One barber must have gotten in a little trouble with the law, we've decided. So that barbershop is and they were not one of our most active ones, I would say, and so that's okay. And another one closed, but we have it's actually the barbering curriculum through the Peoria Public Schools that has a place where the public can come in and get haircuts from the kids learning the barbering skills. And we've identified where their site is now, so we can start providing books there too. So it's a very neat, fun program that has a lot of rewards.
I have one final comment.
Sure.
When it comes to challenges we faced since since the end of December, with these urban, independently owned barbershops, they sometimes like to have their own hours and just close on a whim. Oh, no. So I have spent many days trying to get into certain barbershops. So at one point I was just carrying a crate of books around in the back of my van. And when I saw them open, I stopped. But that was one of the challenges, that if we went on like a Wednesday afternoon, they changed their hours to, well, maybe we're only going to be open Friday and Saturday. So that was a challenge, is trying to figure out when most of them are open to do in one sweep. But it has been a fun program, and the barbers just love us.
And we so appreciate the support of this grant.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yes.
We are glad we could, and I read some of that positive media coverage that you guys got in your area, which was really great to read. So, so thank you to both groups for sharing.
They're great. Great stories.
Yeah, both
really great.
Good, successful projects with great outcomes, and it seems like projects that will be sustainable to a degree, that it will not just end with the end of the grant, but a program you can keep going. So before we move on, I'll just pause again if there's any questions from any members on for either of these groups or myself. Yes.
Got a couple for the barbers. Love books. The first one is, did you purchase any books?
We purchased, in the very beginning, we started out with books that parents frequently donate to the school library that I am at, that I either haven't gotten around to including in my inventory or various reasons. So we started out with that, plus Terry and Roberta had books that were withdrawn from the inventory at Peoria Public Library for various reasons, and we just kind of cobbled together 25, 30 plus books. Well, more than that actually, when we first started. So yeah, we made it work. And then when the Rails grant came along, we did purchase $2,000 worth of fabulous books. So we appreciate it.
And then we also had to purchase 6 more crates for the additional 6 shops through the grant.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And the second question is, how are you sustaining the program long term?
Peoria Public Library has Friends of Peoria Public Library, which not only gets our discarded items, but also receives donations that are donated to our main library or any of our 4 locations. So through them, we have a great source of used books or likely used books. We have an intergovernmental agreement with Peoria Public Schools, so it's to both entities' benefit to, well, all three entities between the library and the schools and the Friends to donate books to these barber shops. There's a rotation. Most of the books come back. We probably have some that a child loves too much and they won't bring back to the barber shop, and that's okay.
Great.
Any other questions anywhere? Okay, well, thank you both again. And should anybody have questions about the grants, feel free to email or call.
All right, thanks, Joe. Okay, so this is the time where anybody can share news or comments or ask questions, anything going on in your libraries, anything you want to ask about or tell us about. So maybe anybody here in Burr Ridge have anything besides what you've already told us about?
My question was answered earlier. So.
No?
No, not at this time, thank you.
Okay. How about in Coal Valley? Anybody have anything they want to share?
Apparently not. Thank you.
All right. Thank you again, folks from Peoria, schools and library. Anything else you want to share at this point?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. Let's see, how about in Freeport? Anything to share?
They've been sharing with each other.
Okay, guess not. State Library, anything?
We really enjoyed hearing about these two grant projects. How exciting.
Yeah, they were great. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, tugging on the heartstrings there.
Yes.
LaSalle, anything?
Hi, yes. I just wanted to let everyone know that we do have a couple spots left for our NASA workshops here at LaSalle, scheduled for April 24th and 25th. The 24th, we will have a trainer from NASA, the Glenn Space Center in Ohio, here doing training on, the first day will be on lunar rocks. And after you go through that course, you will be certified as long as your organization is secure. You will be certified and you can borrow actual moon rocks for display from NASA. And our second day will be about STEM programming, specifically with earth science projects. So they go from 9 until 3 p.m. Both days here again at the LaSalle Public Library. And just contact me and let me know if you want to come. Like I said, we got a couple of spots, but they're going pretty quickly. So,
good.
Julie, anything?
Nothing I want to mention.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Christy. How about New Lenox?
Hi, it's Julie from Downers Grove, and I just wanted to share something that I learned about recently with the help of our facilities manager as we're planning a project for later this fall, doing some lighting upgrades in addition to some other things. You may or may not know that the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity used to do the energy efficiency grants in Illinois. They no longer do it. It is now directly through ComEd. And ComEd has it, it's called their Energy Efficiency Program. And there are substantial incentives and rebates available for libraries and municipal governments, et cetera, doing upgrades to lighting, to HVAC, to the control system for your HVAC. There are a whole bunch of new programs out there that actually have money. And they will, once you're pre-qualified, if you're pre-qualified, when your project ends, you will get a check within 3 weeks. So I just want to share that for those of us who are very frustrated with the way things are going with the state of Illinois. Look into the ComEd incentives if you have anything that's even remotely energy related, because they'll actually give you a check. And for those of us who are municipal libraries who are on a franchise agreement with Commonwealth Edison, as long as you get a bill, even if that bill is zero, you still qualify. So we qualify through the Village of Downers Grove, but the check will come directly to the library. So do check out this program, and hopefully it'll help you too.
Yes, thank you, Julie. I think we're going to check it out. Yeah, we pay a lot of this building is entirely electric. So let's see, Sycamore. Anything in Sycamore?
Nope, we're good. Nothing here. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think that we are at an end then.
I do have some news
Oh,
to share.
I'm sorry.
Don't forget the streamers.
I'm sorry.
From Fox River Grove Memorial Library, they're excited for their soon-to-be famous author finalist.
Oh,
they're also congratulating Veranda on her ASCLA award.
Oh, Yay.
For those our e-news, they must have read our e-news. Veranda won the 2018 Kathleen Borden Award from ASCLA, which is the Association of Specialized
Cooperative Library Agencies.
So you can read all about that in today's e-news.
Yay, Veranda.
Thank you. I'd like to give a speech. No, I'm just kidding.
Then Milledgeville, the front porch reconstruction at Milledgeville Public is proceeding nicely. We expect to reopen to the public sometime in early May. If anyone is interested, I post new pictures nearly every day on our Facebook page, Milledgeville Public Library, Illinois. And she's awesome. I think that's it.
All right, great. Lots of news today. Awesome. All right, well, thank you everybody for attending. We haven't yet officially scheduled our next member update.
It'll be in July.
It'll be in July. And we will, as you know, going back to an earlier conversation, we'll be posting those revised standards within a couple of weeks. So thank you very much for attending. Thank you to our presenters. And see you in July. Bye.